Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's STORMYBMAN, and I am back welcoming you to the post-fight show with STORMYBMAN, and I am glad to be back on the airwaves doing the post-fight show again. I have been out for a minute, and it's good to be back, as they say. So I'm here, and we're going to get down and talk about the fights that took place on ESPN this evening. We had a big old fight card that lasted from late afternoon into late evening. So, it is what it is. We are out here, and we had a great call on the fights for this evening by KQ. KQ was really doing the thing. He put in that work today, being on there for so many hours, calling these fights for you guys, plus doing this show early in the afternoon. I know how taxing that could be. I've done a couple of shows in the same day, and it's very taxing, and it's rough on your voice, because you're talking constantly. You have to stay hydrated. And it's not a simple thing. So, I respect to the brother for doing what he does. I'm not ready to go all out like that yet. But, yeah, it's a great call. And want to say what's up to everybody that's out there. See, we got Underground Asylum, Taylor Bell, Nuke Juice is out there. What's good with everybody? Smash that like button as you come in. I know some people are checking out other shows, and that's fine. We got King Strick out there also. Edmundo Gutierrez is out there. Appreciate everybody that decided to stop by STORMYBMAN's channel and check out the post-fight show with us over here. We're wrapping up a tremendous amount of fights. They had a lot of undercard fights. 4-rounders and 6-rounders, and I think an 8-rounder that they threw in there at us, and it was busy. But I watched those earlier undercard fights, but I wasn't scoring them. I just scored the main event and co-main. But they were all entertaining, and shout out to the Latin fighters that produced this evening, man. They were on a tear this evening. Top rank. If they don't know how to do anything, they know how to showcase young talent and put them on TV and get them views. So, that's what they do. But when you graduate, so to speak, that's when it's time to be on and upward. Get on up out of there and get yourself prepared for that next stage and next level in your career, where you can make more on your purses and have more choices as far as your opportunities with world titles as well as world-class fighters. So that's something to definitely keep in mind if you happen to be one of the young fighters out there. So, but how did you guys feel about this card this evening? I know that Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens let me know that he'll be joining up a little late because he's got the other UFC or MMA card that he's calling right now. So he may be a little late with us this evening. But it's all good. Stormy is here to rock with you guys, and you're here to rock with me. And we can talk about it a little bit. Man, I tell you, it's funny. I was only out of the loop for a couple of weeks, but a lot has happened. A lot is going down in the sport. And this evening, seeing Shakur Stevenson return to the ring, I had a feeling that this fight would not deliver a scintillating performance, because you had a guy in there who was unknown in NAKATHILA, and Shakur was aware that this guy's only chance was a puncher's chance, and he had a big right hand. And Shakur and his camp weren't interested in giving this guy any chances to make a name off of them. But I really wish that we could have saw him put punches together in succession, because his talent, as Andre Ward has spoke over the airwaves, his talent is there. And had he just went to town on the guy and opened up, the guy might have caved in. You know, it's one of those cases of the man, Jeremiah NAKATHILA. He was not the most confident guy. As early as the first round, he thought he was going to go in there and tag Shakur. And he tried it. But guess what? Shakur tagged him. And that forever changed his mind in the fight, because he realized at that moment that Shakur was a little bit more than he had thought going in. And just being a young guy of 22, that didn't mean he couldn't punch. That didn't mean that he didn't have offense to offer up. It's just that NAKATHILA didn't he didn't respect that out of Shakur. And Shakur gave him something to think about, put something on his mind, so to speak. And shout out to Shakur Stevenson for securing his win. And, you know, he did get a knockdown. He actually got a couple of knockdowns in that fight. NAKATHILA went to the canvas. His legs were shaky. Again, Ward had mentioned this. And his footwork was terrible. That was what I spoke about in my pre-fight breakdown about Nakatani. I said he wasn't agile. I said he's a guy that has fast hands. He's got pop on his punches. He throws his punches in combinations. But that was all against a assortment of lesser opposition. He was in there with world class tonight. And you could see that he was not up to snuff, which is also a great segue into what Ward was saying during the broadcast, that Shakur has to learn. And we can be critical, but not bashing of him. He has to learn that when it's fighters like this, in circumstances like this, and they present themselves, he has to get to that point where he's going to go in there and pretty much you have to go in there and take the fight to the guy, because the guy is going to take as minimum risk as possible. You know, he'll hope to fall into a big shot, but you know, guys like that, you have to take the fight from them. You have to make sure that they understand they don't belong in the ring with you. And that's what Shakur was not able to do this evening. And, you know, it comes with experience. You'll be in more fights and you'll get a chance to do that. But tonight, he was not able to do that. And that's one of the critical observations. Also, he had an opportunity to walk the guy down and get inside on the mid-range. You know what I mean? And that was telling that he didn't successfully get in there and take care of that. So let me acknowledge my man Taylor Bell out there in that super chat. The super chat message is kind of acting up this evening. Well, I tell you, it's like this stuff happens, man. It's like, what's really going on? Salute to Taylor Bell out there in the super chat. What Taylor is saying, a little disappointed in Shakur. Yeah, I think we are all a little disappointed in it, you know. We're a little disappointed in Shakur. A little disappointed. Look at this thing. I don't know what's wrong with that. It's like everything is acting up. It was acting up with the Discord last night. Now tonight it's acting up with the Super Chat. But whatever, man. We're going to keep it going. Yeah, Shakur was supposed to recognize that he got to a point in the fight where he could take the fight to NAKATHILA. And NAKATHILA's best chance was Shakur being at the end of the shots, not mid-range, not on the inside. And he never made the adjustment to go inside to take some play away from NAKATHILA. I actually believe NAKATHILA would have folded like a tent in the park had he done that, because it would have challenged him to do something that he's not accustomed to doing and that he's not comfortable doing. So again, Shakur can go back and study the tapes. His hands were faster. His punches were sharper. He probably even had more pop on his punches than NAKATHILA had. Because you can argue that the quality of opposition that Jeremiah had in his career leading up to this fight and the quality of opposition that Shakur Stevenson has taken on leading up to this fight, they pale in comparison. Because Shakur has been in there with sound fighters, and he's had that world-class training. You saw the people who were there for him and with him in his dressing room this evening. So all of that speaks volumes about what he brought to the ring himself. You didn't see that for Jeremiah NAKATHILA. So it's like that's one of the things that you can consider for future reference for Shakur Stevenson. He has to make assessments. He's very smart. I spoke about that in my pre-fight breakdown video. He's very smart, highly intelligent guy. He can see things in there. His mind is sharp. He thinks, he responds. But the next step and level of that is making the necessary adjustments. And in this fight, I do believe, had he put more punches together, you would have seen. It was like he was pot-shotting a guy, you know, and that's not necessary. Throw those combinations together, run them bag drill numbers on them, and get them on up out of there. You know what I mean? And that would have been to his favor to do that. Let's see. We got my man Batman is out there. John Page, he says, "What's up, OG? Shakur should have showed something special tonight." He sure should have, John, and that's what I was saying. And I think that I don't know his corner men, but they would be well advised to press the gas for him in future fights. And Tim Bradley and the crew had something to say about, you know, what the complaint is going to be about him being boring and things like that. Although he wasn't boring, it was inconclusive, because you knew that he had the ability, as Andre Ward has said, he could take this guy out of there, and he didn't do that. That's the only thing. Like I said, if you want to be critical of him, he had a knockout on the table that he didn't go for. And there will be nights when he'll be forced to go for a knockout because someone is going to turn the heat up on him. And he's not only going to have to defend himself, but he's going to have to show that opponent who he is. Now, Taylor Bell out there in the chat says, "I think Oscar Valdez will give Shakur a run for his money." That is quite possible. And we know that Valdez, if nothing else, has been in tough matches where he's had to pull something out. You know what I mean? And he was successful. His victory over Miguel Berchelt alone elevates him to a certain level of confidence and capability that wasn't there before that fight happened. Although he was rugged, We knew he could take it. We knew he was durable and tough. But now we know he can pull out a big fight. He can pull out a victory in a big fight. And that type of assessment makes all the difference in the world when you are fighting at the world-class level. That's something Shakur is going to have to take note of. He's going to have to pay attention to the opportunities that present themselves. Just like he makes those other assessments when he's in the ring, he's going to have to do those things. He's going to have to assess, hey, it's time to go ahead and get this guy up out of here. This fight shouldn't have went beyond the 9th round. Shouldn't have went beyond the 9th round. That's my personal opinion, but I know Shakur has it in him. It's like when you have a drill sergeant and you're doing your drills and everything, and he's getting on your case and telling you you ain't putting in the effort, this and that, and you think that you're doing your best. But sometimes having someone drill you and get on your back and push you is just what you need. And that's kind of what we were experiencing here with this situation with Shakur Stevenson, because NAKATHILA couldn't even turn it up to another level. He couldn't turn it up to a gear. He only had what he showed. He didn't have anything else. Even when his cornermen were telling him in the corner, dude, you need a knockout, you know? Did he fight with more angst? Did he come out and really give a gung-ho effort? No, he basically fought like he fought the rest of the rounds. And that was because he got tagged by Shakur early on, and he couldn't see Shakur's punches. Like, Shakur could see everything that he was throwing. He got tagged in one round, and he felt that power, and he kind of moved around till the bell rang and stuff like that. But for the most part, he was able to see everything coming. And by doing that, he put himself in a position to counterpunch, but he was only doing it pot-shotting, like I said, one at a time. But NAKATHILA was not trying to do that. He was just hoping that Shakur would fall asleep and then he land his right hand and win the fight. There are a number of fighters out there like that have that type of mentality, and it doesn't work. You have to put the work in. You know what I mean? You have to put the work in, man. You can't just go out there thinking that somebody is just going to give it up, because that's not necessarily so. You know, that's not necessarily so. So guys have to be careful, man, and, you know, play toward what their strengths are. It was an incomplete effort there from Shakur tonight, man. We got my man Bernard Burton out there in the super chat. He says, salute Stormy in chat. Salute to you, Bernard Burton. Appreciate you and your donation to the channel, man. Thanks for tuning in to the show. Don't forget to hit that like button. Everybody that's out there, I see we have, it says that we have 22 watching, but we only have 17 thumbs up. What's up with that? We usually have higher thumbs up. You guys coming in just forgetting to hit the button, or you just don't feel like supporting this evening? I know sometimes people get an attitude and everything, but I'm just coming back, man. Show some love for STORMYBMAN. You know what I mean? I ain't been on the scene in a couple weeks, and you guys don't even want to, you know, hit the like button out there. What's up with that? But what we got here, I'm trying to check my screen out. It's a lot of different things going on. Let's see. Yeah, Batman, I hear you. He says these dudes try to be Money May instead of being Pretty Boy. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Just be yourself and go out there and do something for yourself. Make a name for yourself. Take some chances, some risks, and get out there and perform. You know, people love it when someone gives an effort. When you kind of look like you coasting and stuff, that's what make people not like you. Even if you are good at it and the other guy ain't touching you, he ain't threatening you or nothing like that, you still build this reputation that is displeasing to boxing audiences. That doesn't mean you have to go out there and try to be Mike Tyson. But man, show the levels that you have. Shakur was fighting in one gear tonight, and he had about 5 gears to the other guy's 1 gear. So he's fighting at that guy's level. You know, in basketball, we talk about teams playing down to the opposition's level. You'll have a really good team, and then they play a mediocre team, and on that night, they kind of like can't get out of that rut of playing down to their level. That's what Shakur did this evening. He kind of played the game at NAKATHILA's level, and he was supposed to raise that up. You know what I mean? And he didn't do that. And to me, that's the only critical thing I have for him in this fight, because he was faster of hand, he was fleet of foot, he was very good defensively, he could hit the guy pretty much at will. So why didn't you turn it up on him? See? And some point, he's going to have to do that. He's going to have to reach for that gear. And as far as that Pretty Boy Floyd thing, he need to get that out of his mind. All of these guys who mention Floyd and talk about, and I mean, Floyd is who he is and who he was as a fighter. Excuse me, but there are far greater fighters to emulate as far as getting something done in the ring. And there's no way you're going to emulate his economic draw. There's no way you're going to emulate his undefeated succession of championship fights with opponents of high caliber, because these guys today, first of all, they don't work that hard. Second of all, they don't fight that frequent. Third of all, they're just not that good. Now, Shakur is good at his level, but what is that saying? If you don't want to step your gears up, NAKATHILA shouldn't have saw the 12th round. And I'll tell you, one thing I like about Tank Davis, man, Tank Davis would have been trying to knock that dude out. He would have been trying to knock that dude out. He would not be trying to let that man go the distance with him. And that's the difference. Shakur is going to have to, you know, change that mindset and be mean in there for however long the fight lasts. That guy's trying to take bread off your table, money out your bank, you understand, or account, and trying to take your O away. So it's like, you have to change your mindset. You got to get out there, put it to task, and get it done. Curtis Price is out there, says, Stormy B-Man, do you think that Shakur Stevenson is scared of getting hit? I don't know that I would say that, but I will say this. A couple of more performances like this, and that will definitely be one of the neckties they'll try to put on his pair with his shirt. You know what I mean? Because that's not a good look. It's a hurt business, and you're gonna get hit in there. The thing is not to get hit too frequent or often, and to do the hitting to the other guy. That solves all of that. He can't hit you if he defended himself from getting hit by you. Am I right? Shoot. So Taylor Bell is laughing. He says Bud Crawford is his corner man. Maybe, huh? Let me see. Taylor Bell says that was the fight of the year, Stormy B, man. Man, you drinking. Nuke Juice says this should have been a step forward ahead of Herring, but his image took a step back. I won't go so far as to say that, Nuke Juice. And this is why I said don't bash the guy. He won every round, and he got a couple of knockdowns in there. That's pretty darn good. You understand? But it wasn't what you would have liked to see. And just because he didn't give you what you would like to see, just like myself, I would have loved to see him get this guy out of there. And my complaint is he didn't take it to another level. But I can't be on him in a negative sense because he was victorious and he won every single round. You know what I mean? And we have to get out of that. Seriously, that mindset of being condemning because someone, didn't do what you would like to see. It's just like in the Devin Haney fight against Linares. When he got hit with that shot just before that bell late in the fight, and he went back to his corner, he stumbled a little bit, he was wobbled, he got rocked. But he come back out and he finished the fight like a pro. He didn't go into a Hector Camacho thing where after Rosario hit Camacho with that big left hook, Camacho was in there just running around for the rest of the rounds. And he did that for the rest of his career. After beating up other people and knocking them out all the time, somebody hit him and that light switch went off like, oh, it could happen to me. And it changed him forever. Devin Haney won the fight. He won just about every round in that fight. And people were looking for something to complain about him. Just like people were looking to complain about Clarissa Shields in her fight. People do that, man, and it's one of the sickest things to do because these people are winners, okay? And when they're winners, you have to accept how they win. They win with class. They win with grace. They win when it's close. They win when there's distance. Hey, a win is a win is a win. When the Bulls went 72-10, they lost 10 games. And some of those games they lost, they still could have won. It's like, okay, they didn't have a perfect season. But the thing about it is, those 10 games, they lost 10 games. And then when, what was that, Golden State came along and broke that record or whatever, it's like, really, it's like they lost some games, but they still were a hell of a team, and they were a winning team. So this was a win for Shakur. Did you see his face? He had a little scratch under his eye, but he didn't look like he took a beating or anything. And this guy could punch. Celebrate victory, but encourage to be like, step it up, because I know you got it in you. That's all I'm saying with that. Eric R. says, wow, I got to watch this fight. Had to drop my daughter off at work and doing laundry. I got smashed the like before I chat. It's only right, people. Thanks, Eric R. He says, that's disappointing to hear because I thought highly of Shakur out of these young guys. Boots, too. Listen, man. He didn't lose a round. He didn't lose a round. So don't be on him like that. That's why I'm trying to tell you. Just acknowledge these guys, for what they accomplish. You don't put them on too high of a horse and you don't, run them into the dirt. He's had some success. Salute to Taylor Bell out there in that super chat again. He says, do you address Shakur during the fight about it? Listen, as his corner man, you can address a lot of things. You know what I mean? There's things that you could address with Shakur during the fight if you're his corner man. After the fight, you review the tape and you say, hey, man, this is how you handle this situation going forward. And you work on those things. You know what I mean? That's what you do. Bernard Burton says Shakur's performance was very lackluster. It wasn't very lackluster. He won every round. See, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you guys this. You may not want to hear it. Because what do you expect? You expect him to go out there and hit somebody like Mike Tyson and the fight be over and they'd be like, yeah, Shakur looked like Mike Tyson. He won every freaking round, bro. Every round. And he's still a talent. There's still some guys. Herring is not going to be the favorite in that fight when they fight. Salute to the second super chat from Taylor. He says, no, Valdez fight was fight of the year. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I got you. Nuke Juice says, I'm not condemning his performance. I thought it was great. It was pretty darn good. Listen, man, if I boxed in a boxing match and I won every round, plus knocked the guy down 2 times, but I didn't, excuse me, but I didn't stop him, and you told me my performance was lackluster, I'm going to look at you sideways. Seriously. You know what I mean? And he should look at someone sideways if they want to consider him in that manner, because he performed very well. Shakur did. You can't do nothing but take your hat off. I could see if he was running and rounds were close and indecisive and this and that, he was picking the guy apart. I just wanted his punch output to be more, where he put his punches together and he step up to a different level, put more pressure on Jeremiah and force Jeremiah into some decisions. And he didn't do that, but he was well within the position to do that. You know? Faith in the Cross says, kind of reminds us of Haney. Yes, yeah. But the thing is, the judgment of Haney, he won every round against Linares, and people were like, oh, he got shook up and this and that. Listen, Mike Tyson fought Frank Bruno back in 88, 89, whenever that was. And Frank Bruno hit Mike Tyson with a big left hook and a right hand in one of those rounds. I think it was the 3rd round or something. And Mike wobbled and walked toward Bruno and grabbed and clinched and, you know, got himself together. And Bruno was trying to get more punches in there, but his arms were too long and he couldn't get to Mike. But the funny part about it was he wobbled Mike, and Mike come back and knock him out a couple of rounds later. And people were like, whoa, never saw Mike wobble like that and this and that. It's like, okay, it can happen in a fight. You got to talk about 2 guys who can punch, and one of the guys' punches landed, and that's what can happen. But Shakur didn't get beat up. He didn't get rocked. He didn't get dropped. None of that. Won every round and come out looking like a, you know, smooth as a baby, you know. Let's see. TS Boxing, salute to Tyrone out there. He says, didn't get to watch the fight, but I had a feeling it would go all 12. Not everyone can do it all like Boots and getting after it. Vern Davenport Jr. is out there, says, I don't understand these pretend to be fans. Absolutely, Vern Davenport Jr., salute to you. That's my first time seeing you out here on the STORMYBMAN channel, but welcome to the show. And this is all I'm trying to say. You know, it's not a campaigning for Shakur. It's a campaign for the sport, because I gave examples of other fights and how temperamental fans can be when they don't get what they want. What is it you want from these guys? Seriously. Remember when Floyd Mayweather was boxing, people were saying, we want to see knockouts. When Deontay Wilder started coming into the picture and was knocking everybody he faced out, people were saying, oh, he can't box. I mean, come on. Floyd couldn't knock people out and Deontay couldn't box. So what do you want? Seriously. You look at Devin Haney, he can box. They say, oh, but he ain't got no power. Listen, man, there were a number of fighters. Anybody remember Corey Spinks? Corey Spinks couldn't punch, but he was the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. He could box his tail off. He was a nephew of Leon and Michael, and he could box. You know? And was a darn good fighter, bro. So what do you guys want? What do you want? When a guy can box, he can box. You get hard on them for the wrong reasons. There's plenty of good reasons to be hard on fighters, but this is not one of them. Not at all. This is not one of them at all. So I don't support that, and I don't stand in agreement with that at all, man. You have to give the guys credit for, you know, when they do what they do. When you pitch a shutout, hey, Pernell Whitaker used to win 11 out of 12 and 12 out of 12 rounds of almost all of his championship fights, man. You know, he was just that darn good as a boxer. But what do you men want? What do you want? Seriously. You know? So, I don't know, man. TS Boxing says, Shakur, I think, will always be that technical guy. I'm sorry, it jumped up on me a second. Hold on. Oh. Okay, there it is. It's moving because I guess people are writing in the chat. He says, Shakur, I think, will always be that technical guy first, and it'll be even more when he better cook or moves up. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Vern Davenport Jr. says, I just heard this guy on another channel say Shakur will lose to Oscar Valdez because of how the way he fought this African tonight. Yeah, there's going to be some negative comments on him and his performance tonight. But the man won every round and scored 2 knockdowns. So what do you want? Like I just said a moment ago. IGM Tim is out there, says, good to see you, Stormy B, man. Good to be back, IGM Tim. He says, salute to you and the chat. Salute. My man Stay Sharp is out there. He says, I agree, OG Stormy B, man. Yeah, Stay Sharp. See, now Stay Sharp out there is a coach and trainer too, man. And he knows when you have a fighter that's as talented as Shakur, you don't beat him up because he didn't stop the guy. You give him the respect and the congrats on what he did do was win every round, score a couple of knockdowns, come out unscathed. And what you can work on in the gym is his output, stepping up his gears, and working more with the fighter when he has an opportunity to go in mid-range or go inside, to take those opportunities when they present themselves. But outside of that, tell them, Stay Sharp, this is a great night for Shakur. Man, don't let nobody tell you nothing different, bro. Don't let nobody tell you nothing different, because that's just a way of tearing a person down. And there's a whole lot of that going on in the sport right now by both participants and fans and media. Tearing people down. Tyrone says, I got Shakur beating Valdez and Herring. Vern Davenport Jr. says, the dude had 9 knockouts in a row. There you go. But you also have to question who were the guys he was knocking out. I bet if Shakur fought those guys, he would have knocked all 9 of them out as well. You see what I'm saying? Faith in the Cross says, he's 23 and in bigger fights ahead, he will perform and get his glory. He's still got a lot of growing to do. Stuff takes time. You know what? I don't want to hear that, because I don't listen. Tommy Hearns was 22 years old when he fought Sugar Ray Leonard, who was 25 when they fought for the first time. Wilfred Benitez won the welterweight title when he was 16, 17 years old. Huh? Come on, man. Come on. Huh? It's time to stop. Take the training wheels off. Huh? These men are out there. It's a sport. You saw a kid, Alexander Zayas is out there. He's 18 years old, whooping butt. Okay? So don't tell me about how young he is and the room to grow. You grow in the matches. When they match you accordingly and you're able to take away from each match some experience that will allow you to become a better more competent and capable fighter. That's where your growth comes from. You ain't gonna magically reach a certain age and be like, okay, I'm here. No, it don't work like that in boxing. Don't work like that at all. Eric R says, I agree. Complaining about everything a fighter does. You miss the greatness. I was like that when I was younger. Used to nitpick on Lennox Lewis, but now that I'm older, I can go back and appreciate. Absolutely, man. Stay Sharp says, exactly. More output. Yeah, man. That's where it is. You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you, the more you see it, the better off it'll be for the sport. You know what I'm saying? Nuke Juice is out there in that super chat. He says, this was not a marketable fight to the masses. Why not? You've seen worse fights than that, man. So you're trying to say that Shakur's performance tonight and victory was not marketable? It wasn't marketable? Come on, man. The man won every round. I will watch Shakur again because I know he's got ability. I know he's got skill set. And he's going to get in there and he's going to have matches where he'll get in there with someone and he's going to look so much better than them. You know what I mean? Because his talent is really off the charts, bro. He's one of those guys who is going to have to be challenged. That man that was in there tonight didn't have what he had. If that man had what Shakur had, you would have saw a fight tonight because he would have forced Shakur to fight. But he couldn't force Shakur to fight because he felt something from Shakur in that first round that changed his whole mindset. And he was hoping to land something instead of trying to land something. Two different mindsets. I watched film of NAKATHILA. I saw film of him. 3 fights I watched of him. And against those opponents, he was letting his hands go. He was throwing punches and combinations, which is what I spoke about in my pre-fight video breakdown, right? He didn't do any of that against Shakur. You know why? Because of the incoming. And Shakur didn't have to do any more because just like Floyd used to do when he was a young fighter, he could tag the guy with something really good and make the guy wary about trying to come in on him. Boxing 101. It's right there for you. Stay Sharp says, Corey Spinks was very skilled. Taylor Bell says, very true. Rasheed Rourke says, I liked Corey Spinks. And Vern Davenport says, they're just race fans, brother. TS Boxing says, sorry, I meant when Shakur fights better competition. Stay Sharp says, Shakur is coming along very well. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And you can see his marked improvement. You can actually see his physical improvement, how his body has matured. If you go back and look at some fight videos from Shakur Stevenson from 2019 to right now, he don't even physically look like the same kid anymore. He's really coming along well, as Stay Sharp says, big time. And I can't wait to see more of him, you know. He's going to be what he is, man. And that's going to be a young fighter who is going to take somebody special to beat him. You know what I mean? Stay Sharp. I mean, Bernard Burton is out there in that super chat. Bernard Burton says, Stormy, don't get me wrong. He says, Shakur is my guy. He's like, but I still think he's the front runner of the young guns. Respect, bro. The only way we can tell that, Bernard Burton, and thank you for your super chat donation to the channel, man. Thank you for supporting the show. The only way we're going to know that is when these guys get in the ring with one another. Because the one thing that you can say about these fighters is this. Everybody on paper can look great because they're all pretty much fighting in showcase matches. But once they start to face one another, when talent is in there against talent, more is going to have to come out of the guys. The desire to win, the ambition and drive to be the best. The pretenders will be exposed, and someone will grow from that pact. But we don't know until they fight each other. See, that's the thing. On paper, listen, the Super Bowl. Remember a few years ago when New York upset New England in the Super Bowl, and that New England was undefeated that season, right? And they had one more game to win, and it all fell apart for them in that last game, in the second half of that game, huh? It was like, you just don't know. On paper, the Patriots were supposed to kick New York's butt, but New York got all the right bounces, all the right moves and calls and breaks in the plays, and they won. It happens. So when you talk about these fighters facing each other in live competition, this is what will happen. These men will face each other, and someone is going to stick their neck out and be the person declared the better. But until they face, we don't know who that'll be. Huh? I never thought that I would see Mike Tyson come apart mentally and bite another championship caliber fighter ear off. He bit Evander Holyfield. These are men who knew each other since they were young amateurs. And he bit the man's ear off because he was getting his butt whooped. But y'all like Mike Tyson because to him, to you all, for him, he's a so-called pillar of strength, right? No, he's a pillar of weakness. Mental weakness. Nobody ever questioned his physical prowess. But remember, you're only as strong as this up here. The body can do a lot, but when the mind shuts itself down, where's the body going? Nowhere. So he out there biting people and everything instead of trying to figure out a way with boxing ring IQ. All those fights he watched, the library of fights he was exposed to and studied all the time. He couldn't think of a way to defeat Evander Holyfield. He couldn't go back to the basics by jabbing his way in with Evander and waiting on timing shots and banging Evander to the body because that was Evander's weakness, being banged to the body. Ask Riddick Bowe, ask James Toney. Two of his worst defeats were to fighters who took body shots to him. Chris Bird did the same thing too, but that was a much more faded Evander. But James Toney was a body punching guy. He took Evander's legs away right away. So did Riddick Bowe. So Mike Tyson, who at one time showed great body punching ability, but he didn't hang his hat on that. He couldn't go in with a game plan saying, I'm going to break Evander down. Weak-minded. Huh? That's what that was. But y'all, act like he's, the pillar of strength. No, someone like Larry Holmes or Joe Louis or Muhammad Ali, those men were pillars of strength in the sport at the heavyweight division. Shaking the Dice is out there. He says, yeah, Shakur is okay. All this experience plus he is already a world champ at 126. Vern Davenport Jr. says, how many other fights went 12 rounds without criticism? It's amazing. Stay Sharp says, weak as you know what. Yep. He says, Mike mental was built by cuss, but not to last. No, it wasn't built to last. Fragile. He's still fragile. Look at him. He can go in a conversation with people. He could go from one extreme to another and come off as a complete psycho. But he's not. And he don't fool me because he do that because that's his new defensive mechanism. Play crazy. Huh? He ain't crazy. He put his clothes on and walked down the street, don't he? Huh? He ain't crazy. He ain't got his butt in the ring with none of these young champions out here, has he? He may talk all this stuff and smoke all that stuff, but he ain't trying to get in there with nobody, is he? No, he ain't. And he ain't gonna. But he'll always scare some of you guys. You see him in the parking lot or whatever. Let me tell you something about that man. He's from New York, right? So he knows this already. Out there in the streets, somebody will blow your head off, man. Being a tough guy. That's right. They don't give a darn if you was the heavyweight champion of the world or whatever. Huh? It could be the end of you if you really want to get crazy out there in them streets. I'm just telling it like it is. That's a defensive mechanism. Keep people at bay. He prayed that nobody stand up to him. Now there are professionals out here who will tell you the same thing. Fed Life is out there, says, salute Stormy B-Man, salute to you. Shakers and Dice is laughing out loud. Vern Davenport Jr. says, I agree with you about Mike Tyson. True statement. Yeah, of course it is. You know, you can see life before your eyes. Life before your eyes is very, very sincere. It's just your perception of life before your eyes and what you want to take in. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's disgraceful. Oh, it's joyful. Oh, it's the pits. You understand? Think about it. Perception and what the reality is. Life goes on. You might not want to continue on, but guess what? Somebody else does. And they'll step over you to continue their path. Huh? You'll just be a bump in the road. So you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you keep it going, keep it moving. Or you sit back and you smoke that stuff and you blow your brains away. And then you have people like me sitting up here telling you how foolish that is. Huh? Eric R. says, R.I.P. to Vernon Forrest. Yes, sir. Vernon Forrest was a great fighter, champion, and a stand-up individual. But he got caught up in them streets too, man. Got caught up in them streets. Taylor Bell says, tell him, Stormy B, man. You know I'll tell him. You know I'll tell him because, hey, man, I didn't get to this point of where I am being a sucker. You understand? That's the real. But I'll tell you, Shakur Stevenson's performance tonight is great. With 15 fights, he got another 12-round match under his belt. So that's 12 rounds of experience that he can take and build upon. Nothing bad happened. He didn't suffer a bad cut. He didn't break his hands. He didn't get knocked down. He didn't get a broken jaw. He didn't get a broken orbital. He is good to go. And that's 12 additional rounds that he can take into a fight with Jamel Herring if that is the next fight for them. And Herring got to deal with that young guy who got all his energy, all his stamina and strength, got pop on his punches, quick as heck, and now may be motivated to really gun for that title in a manner of which he may not have had this fight not went the way it went, because he's got to go back to the gym and listen, hopefully, to his trainers tell him, listen, man, we got to turn the heat up on Jamel. Huh? So this is what we got to do. and let that be the way things play out going forward. That's great stuff. You can sleep on Shakur all you want and think that he's a boring fighter, but I guarantee you don't want to be the one taking those blows that he throw in there. He hurt that man several times tonight, but he didn't follow up, and then he didn't put the punches together. Could you imagine had he put a series of combinations together? That guy would have fell over like a willow tree, man. Real talk. So, yeah. But hey, you know, this is Stormy. I'm not coming here to rant. I'm just here to tell it like it is, man. Great fight for Shakur. Now, Mr. NAKATHILA knows who he is, meaning who Jeremiah is, because he found out who Shakur was tonight, but he knows that he's not on Shakur's level. I guarantee you that. And he thought he was going into the fight. So, shame on him. Now, I want to move on real quickly and just speak on the co-main event. Jose Pedraza against Julian Rodriguez, man. This was a good fight, especially for Pedraza, because Pedraza came out, man, and in that first round, you know, showing his mobility and things of that nature, but he was assessing where punches were coming from and everything. He was sizing Rodriguez up. I tell you that ring IQ is a mother. And by the second round, when he started putting that jab on Rodriguez and switching from orthodox to southpaw, he was putting it together. He was putting it together. And listen, Pedraza boxed very well tonight. Boxed very well. And to see him be able to do what he did, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Because there may be a chance for him to get back in title contention if he continues to perform like that. And he's beating these younger guys and fresher guys. Hey, Josh Taylor is going to need some opponents, right? But listen, Mr. Rodriguez thought a punch was going to do it, a big punch. But while he was thinking that, he was getting hit with jabs and combinations, body shots. Pedraza really worked him over, man. He gave him the business. I always like seeing a fighter put fights together like that, and I have a lot of respect for that. Shakers and Dice is asking, did you see the Ritson versus Ponce fight, OG? No, I don't think I saw that one. If that was earlier, I didn't see it. Or if that was on another network or something, because the fight, I thought I watched all of the fights on ESPN this evening, even when it was on ESPN2. So, T-Town Cruz says, Jeremiah was not good. No, he was not. I agree with that. But you only saw that because Shakur put him in a box and he couldn't get out of the box. You know how you have a new puppy and you don't want him running around the house because he'll pee on everything and everything. So you put him in that box. That was, Shakur did to Jeremiah tonight. He put him in that box. And Jeremiah was content with being in the box. That's right. Shakers the Dice says it was on Sky Sports. No, I didn't watch anything else on today's schedule. And that was by design, because even though I knew I was going to be watching the ESPN card tonight, I just kind of wanted to ease my way back into this. I didn't want to overload myself with boxing. And I've been, still relaxing myself, because I'm still coming along here, But it's great. It's great to be in the chat with you guys when the KQ is calling the fights and stuff. And, it's like, hey, but I'm glad to be back here talking boxing as well. So that's the thing. I'm just happy to be back. But yeah, that Pedraza Rodriguez fight, it was a good fight. And I was very surprised when he didn't come out for the 9th. Ended it on the stool. They said he couldn't see out of his eye. Hey, listen, man. Boxing is a tough sport, bro. You'll find out who the real men are in boxing, because there are men who have a bad eye, closed eye, one hand, bad knee, bad ankle, a lot of different things, broke jaw, and they'll keep on fighting, man. And I don't say that being critical. I say it as an acknowledgement of what happens. It happens. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing about these fighters, bro. You never know until someone is put in that situation. So just think of it like that. But hey, man, well, a good night of boxing. ESPN, these young fighters. A lot of young fighters that were in 4 and 6 and 8 round fights tonight. It's going to be very interesting where they go coming up, because these guys are the future. And Alexander, man, that kid is only 18, man, and he is a firecracker. So I look forward to seeing him again too. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, what a night of boxing. We'll get a chance to come back next weekend. They got some more fights, and I think that chick Michaela is fighting. And then we also got Loma coming back in 2 weeks, and he's going to be taking on that Nakatani, the Japanese fighter. That's going to be interesting, simply because that guy, with his height and reach and extremities, he's going to present a different set of problems for Vasily Lomachenko. And I like to see how he's going to handle that. He's definitely going to be motivated after dropping his titles to Teofimo Lopez. So we'll get a chance to see how he's going to respond to that, and if he's going to, perform up to task or not, So hopefully he's ready, and he'll be ready to do his thing. If not, it's going to be, in the cards for Nakatani to be right back in the thick of things. So, but yeah, man, it's a great evening of boxing, and we're going to get on up out of here, give you guys a chance to enjoy the rest of your night and weekend, and I'll be back on Tuesday with the Tuesday Tussle, and that'll be it for this evening. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to have Reggie on here tonight. I know Reggie was watching the MMA, so in the UFC or whatever. So that's what he was up to this evening. So, but we'll catch you guys on the next one. STORMYBMAN, I'm up out of here. It's a post-fight show, and we'll catch you guys next week on the next post-fight. Peace.